So I think technological solutions are often very challenging to implement and not necessarily the best solution for environment change, and sort of, adapting to climate change and things like that, and realizing that we can get increased efficiencies. Technological solutions are just rather expensive given with what they're doing and what they actually return. So most systems, if you look at it, if you try to gain some sort of technological efficiency, the cost of actually implementing them um, often far exceed what you'd actually return, right? So I was thinking about PVs, uh, the the electric solar panels that you put on your house, for example. The return on them are, the break even point that they actually start panning out is like 15 years. Well, that's a rather large investment to make for most people, um, to not get any return for 15 years. And I'm a big believer in thinking about long-term returns, but it's an enormous investment to make when you can think about doing something that's easier by looking at efficiencies that are simpler with the current setup, right? If we sort of think about the current setup that we, don't necessarily encourage a large number of people to adopt, um, solar panels. That is one solution. That's a wonderful solution. I'm a big fan of it. I'm not sort of saying don't sort of pursue those things, but it's only for a small group of people right now. Maybe it'll become more economical, but right now that can sort of warrant that the value, the risk, all those kind of things, right? As a long-term investment, that's very expensive. And it's not going to be for everybody to pursue those things at this moment. It's quite expensive. But what we can do to improve and get a better return on much of the things that we actually do and just have a normal life is look for really subtle small things that have a large impact, right? Like, so for example, look for, changing out window panes, for example, have increased window efficiency. There's not a lot of energy loss there, but maybe you put in increased insulation, right? Instead of having solar panels. And if everybody did that, that's a significant improvement that is quite a bit less expensive, um, compared to putting in solar panels and all those kind of things, right? Or the transition to electric vehicles. I'm a big fan. I drive an electric vehicle, but it's not for everybody because it's very very expensive at this moment, and it's not until it becomes very much economical and competitive with the current framework, right, that you can actually compete. And I realize that there is there is all sorts of challenges with that because political incentives encourage people to, or encourage the producers of combustion engines, for example, to get discounts, tax discounts, all that kind of stuff. And I realize that there is challenges or headwinds to making these changes. However, you have to be well aware with we need to embrace what it means across the board of being, living a normal life within your current setting, right? And so going above and beyond that is a high expectation for individuals. So um, what we can do is change the industrial system behind it. So, for example, instead of encouraging everybody to get solar panels and put it on the roof, which is great, and I love that, and probably a more efficient way to do that is let the electrical energy producers create wind farms and solar farms and all those kind of things that are much more larger at a larger scale, that it uses the same system that we actually have right now, right? So it's thinking about the current architecture and how the system performs and just building on that, and seeing ways to build on that. Now, I'm not against a solution or solutions that sort of leapfrog and go in, make it fundamentally better than what we're actually doing at a cheaper price, right? So the idea of um, of a discontinue or a very much a jump in technological capabilities, right? That it might be something that's relatively inexpensive. Like solar panels right now are expensive, um, but they may become very increasingly cheaper in which they actually are, and so that the transition might be easier. And if we adapt, and this is where I like some of the ideas that Tesla has done with making an entire roof that is a solar panel, that's pretty cool. Um, but it's still prohibitively expensive for most people to adopt that thing. But using the current sort of framework of how we do things, so for example, tiles, roofing tiles, if we have some sort of um, poly a sort of solar system that's built into roof tiles that are inexpensive, that could be fully implemented, and that's a much more reasonable system to sort of get to where we need to go to. Now, in general, what this means is not necessarily one single thing that's going to change, and one sort of we need to adopt like this one particular policy change or whatever, and it's going to change everything. No, it's realizing where we stand and looking at ways that we can improve the current system in incremental, kind of tiny ways that at sort of face value don't seem like a lot, right? Like it's not like a big sexy thing of putting on solar panels on everybody's house. What we could do is just encourage people to have better insulation. We can encourage people to turn off the lights when they're not in a room. Have basically free or discounted um, the sort of light switches that are based on sort of sensors if you're walking in and out of the room. um, you can have basically inexpensive light bulbs that are LEDs, right, which is a thing, but LEDs are pretty prohibitively expensive for a lot of people. um, so what I'm suggesting is look at how things currently work, or just small efficiency gains across many different things is probably a better system that allows us to do something that's at a limited cost compared to doing large projects that are technological solutions that in general often are prohibitively expensive, and they have far too long of a lead time or a lag by the time you actually get a return for it. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.